Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Premier League predictions. We are back predicting the Premier League for the weekend's games, and I am joined as always by Sophie. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, not too great when we look at the points, Sophie. I'm only going to gloss over them quickly, but you are absolutely battering me now. You're 10 points ahead, so
I could just call it a day now if you want.
It does look like you are better at Premier League predictions than me. I will have to come out and say it if you do beat me at the end of the season. I don't know how I'm going to come back, but there you go. Before we get into today's predictions, guys, please do make sure to show this video some support. You know what to do. Hit the like button. We'll go for 2,000 likes on this one. We consistently get about 2,000 likes, so please make sure once again that everyone hits the like button. It's free to do and it really helps us out. Do you reckon we can do it?
Of course.
And while you're there, make sure to subscribe. We are really close now to 57,000 subscribers, and after that we can start pushing towards 60,000. It's free to do and you will see all of our videos when they go out, so make sure to subscribe as well. And just to let you know what is coming up in today's Premier League predictions, guys, there's only 9 Premier League games to predict this week, and there's also the Carabao Cup final that we're going to do at the end, which is for bonus points, double points for that one.
Okay.
I need the points, that's why I'm saying that.
Right.
Okay, let's start with Wednesday night's game, Sophie. Make sure to get your predictions in quickly because this one starts tonight. It's Liverpool versus Luton Town. Obviously, this one's been moved forwards to Wednesday because Liverpool are in the Carabao Cup final this weekend. And let's not forget, Sophie, Luton Town did take a draw off Liverpool earlier this season.
They did, and I think even since that they've looked better.
Yes.
They did have Adebayo out for the Man United game, which I do think is a miss, but I still think they played quite well.
Yes, and obviously if you cast your mind back to that Liverpool-Luton game, Liverpool had to score a last-minute equaliser.
I remember watching that.
Through Diaz. Obviously, Sophie, things have been going pretty well for Liverpool recently. A really good win against Brentford. That was very convincing.
It was, however, a lot of injuries, and they just seem to be totting up.
They do, but I was going to say at the same time, a nice weekend really, because Manchester City dropped points to Chelsea, albeit Manchester City did win the Tuesday game against Brentford. It's really close, but to me, I think Liverpool just have the power in their hands and they just need to keep winning. It doesn't need to be pretty, and I think against Luton Town it might not be, because Luton Town could come here and be dogged, and as I've said before, I think Luton Town have a decent chance of staying up, but if you want to win the Premier League you need to beat everyone pretty much, and I think Liverpool will get through this one tonight. I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool.
Oh, okay. I actually do see Liverpool conceding. We don't know who's going to be in goal. Probably going to be Kelleher again, as Alisson is one of the many on the injury list. And Luton, I know they've scored quite a few set pieces, but even on the counter they look quite dangerous as well. I was very impressed with their performance against Man United. Yeah. So you can't rule them out from getting a draw. I don't think they're going to come and win this one, but they could draw. But I'm not going to back them to. I'm going to back Liverpool. I'm going to say 2-1. I actually think it's going to be a slightly closer game. Yeah,
I mean, that's fair enough. Do you think Luton are a little bit unlucky in a sense, because they're losing games by 1 goal quite often?
Yeah, and they must feel a little bit hard done by at times, like because they put in a good performance and they're walking away with nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, on to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Villa Park. I love this matchup between Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. This just makes me think of the 80s and the 70s, and these two being, you know, dominant forces back then, winning European championships and whatnot. And as for this one, Sophie, it's interesting. They both got a good result last weekend.
They did actually, yeah.
We did both back Nottingham Forest to beat West Ham. I thought they would. They were at home. West Ham came into that in poor form, and you got it spot on by saying 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, it was a last minute one, but still called it.
Yeah, good prediction. As for Villa, Sophie, obviously they're having a fantastic season, but the recent form made us question if we should back them to win at Fulham. And we didn't, and they did. So fair play to Aston Villa. They don't often win at Craven Cottage, and that's a good win. Coming into this one, Sophie, I think it could be a good game, but what tips it for me is the home advantage, surely. Obviously, though, it is still worth mentioning that Forest did beat Villa at home earlier this season. But like I say, with Villa now being at home and, you know, maybe getting back on track, I think they might edge this. Forest, I think they've got a good chance of staying up, of course. We need to wait and see with the points deduction. We keep saying that, and obviously we won't know until probably about April. But all they can do is keep churning the points on, and I think they're going to keep doing that. But in this game, it's a bit of a stretch. I'm going to go Aston Villa to win 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit more convincing for Villa. I'm going to say 3-1 to Villa. As you say, the home side, I'm going to lean towards them. Forest, I did think they'd beat West Ham. Forest do look a much better team with the Wanyee in the side. He is a very good player and he seems to get them ticking. So they could, again, get something from this game. But I feel like Villa are going to be too strong. So 3-1.
Yeah, I could see that. I do feel like Villa will win. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Forest get a draw, but it's going to be very difficult, I must say. On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go down to Brighton, who take on Everton. A big game, Sophie, both with quite a lot to play for. Brighton obviously got a great win at Sheffield United last week.
Yeah.
I'll come on to Sheffield United later, but I'm not impressed with them. As for Brighton, they did well. Matoma was lucky to get out with not a broken leg.
Honestly, if his leg was planted, that's a leg breaker.
Yeah, and it's high up on the leg as well. It's a femur breaker.
Yeah, which is a terrible break.
A terrible break.
It won't.
As for Everton, Sophie, well done. You did back them to draw 1-1 with Palace on Monday night. Sick of this, by the way. You getting all the predictions
you went, no, that's not going to happen. Everton 2-0.
I know, I backed Everton to win. And, you know, obviously they didn't. They come here, Sophie, and it was towards the end of last season that Everton came to Brighton and won 5-1, which was a result which was massive and ultimately kept Everton up. I thought it's hard, isn't it? I think Everton could stay up. It's so close between the teams down there. But I'm just going to edge Brighton because Everton let me down last week. 2-1 Brighton.
See, I'm going a little bit more convincing. I'm going to say 3-0 Brighton. They looked very, very good.
A little bit more convincing.
A fair bit more convincing. I'm not that impressed with Everton at the moment. There was a period a couple of months ago where they had a bit of fight about them, and now even just the style of football, it's not entertaining for me as a neutral. Brighton, however, what I will say is I don't think Everton are as naive as Sheffield United, so I don't think it'll be like 5 or 6-0 or anything like that. But I can see Brighton putting a few past Everton. Hence why I'm saying 3-0. Yeah,
I personally think Everton will be in the game. I think Sean Dyche can keep things tight. Do you think Everton's best bit of business this season, Sophie, was giving Mason Holgate to Sheffield United?
I think it was after the last game.
Yeah, okay. Right, let's move on to the next one, Sophie. Another big game with significance down the bottom. It's Crystal Palace versus Burnley. First of all, we'll mention Crystal Palace, the change in management. Obviously, it was a bit of a weird situation because Roy Hodgson, the pressure was on him and then he got ill. Glad to hear he's doing a bit better, but he has now obviously stepped away and Glasner's come in. And Palace did get a draw at Everton, which was quite crucial, really, considering it was at a moment when they didn't have a manager and, you know, it would have been a disaster to lose that game.
Yeah, I don't think they were at any risk of losing that game. Obviously, they went 1-0 up, so they'll be gutted to drop the points, but still it's a point that they can build on. Yeah, and Ayew's goal was really good, really good. As for Burnley, Sophie, I did say that, you know, their last couple of games were tricky on paper, facing Liverpool and Arsenal, and they just need to get to these games against, you know, the likes of Palace where they could get something, but it was the manner of the defeat to Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal have been very good recently, but Burnley, I don't know, so if they just... You kind of want something to go, right, this is an argument for them staying up, but I don't have it. No, I don't have it either. The only thing that I could see saving them is if Everton and Forest both get 10 points. Yeah. And that might just help Burnley get out. On paper, Burnley could get something here, but I'm going to go for the new manager bounce and Palace being at home, 2-1. Okay, I'm saying 1-0, which actually, for Burnley at the moment, I think they might take that because their goal difference has taken an absolute beating in recent weeks. Yeah. But you can see why, because they play quite open football and then they get punished for it. So I wouldn't even be surprised if they won this one. But no, I agree. I think there could be a bit of a new manager bounce. And I do see Palace as being a slightly better team. So 1-0. 1-0. Okay, there you go. Both backing Crystal Palace to beat Burnley. Share your thoughts on that one. Next up, we'll go to Old Trafford, Sophie, where it is Manchester United versus Fulham. Now, Manchester United, Sophie, they do just keep winning. We did back them to beat Luton 3-2, and they did 2-1, so we weren't far off. No, yeah, we got the deficit right, but that's about it.
And as for Fulham, we did back them to beat Villa, but they lost. Fulham just looked very mid-table. I don't really mean that in an offensive way, but they're better than half of the division, not as good as half of the division. I think they're going to be a little bit inconsistent towards the end of the season and probably level out in the middle somewhere. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Fulham can get something here. It looks a game which on paper is not impossible, but I will give it to Manchester United, just given the run of form that they're on. 2-1 against Luton on paper doesn't sound like the most amazing result ever. But good teams have struggled at Luton this season. Liverpool have dropped points. Arsenal only won in the last minute. Man City only won by 1 goal and they had to come from behind. So for this one, Sophie, I think I'm going to go Manchester United 2-1 again. I'm going to back Manchester United to win again, and this would be 4 or 5 wins in a row, so it's starting to come together, and Højlund is looking good, isn't he? Yeah,
he is hitting some good form now at crucial points, so I think this is Man United's game to lose in a way. I think they're going to be heavy favourites. I'm going to say 3-1 just because a couple of players are now firing, so... Yeah.
Can they get top 4 this season?
They could.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the fence.
You sit on the fence for that one, fair enough. It depends how long they can keep this good run going for. On to the South Coast, Sophie, as AFC Bournemouth take on Manchester City. Bournemouth, Sophie, they'll probably be kicking themselves last week because they nearly got the win over the line against Newcastle. And it was a former player, of course, Matt Ritchie, under a former manager, Eddie Howe, that denied them. As for Manchester City, Sophie, not quite convincing, are they? No,
they're not. And I know Haaland scored last night, but he is missing chances and he's having chance after chance after chance. I'm not slagging him off as a player because I think he's an amazing player, but he's getting frustrated at himself, and could that slightly knock his confidence? Possibly.
Going into the Chelsea game, I thought Man City would win and score a few goals. Credit to Chelsea, to be fair to them. They've taken 2 draws off Man City this season. But Man City in a title race cannot be dropping points like that. And although, yes, they did get the 3 points against Brentford, it was not the most convincing job. 1-0, a bit of a dangerous scoreline towards the end, I must say. Against AFC Bournemouth, Sophie, even though I could see Bournemouth getting something, I'm not going to lie, Man City at this stage of the season just cannot drop points. I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Man City 3.
Yeah, not only are Bournemouth kicking themselves after the weekend, but so am I, because I so nearly called a 2-2 and I bottled it, but not this weekend. I would say in the last couple of results, watching Man City, I haven't been that convinced by them. Obviously, they're a great team. They've got enough quality to get it over the line, but they get frustrated by teams, and I think Bournemouth could be one of them. I don't know, I'd say 2-2 or 1-1. 2-2. I'm going for a Desmond this time.
Really?
Yeah, I think it could be a draw.
You're brave. I appreciate that. Yeah. You're very brave. And you know what? As I said, I wouldn't be that surprised if Bournemouth get something. Yeah. They are a good team. On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to the Emirates as Arsenal host Newcastle United. Arsenal, Sophie, are hitting some very good form. Yeah, I wonder if they'd have preferred this game if it was away from home, because over the last 2 away games, they've won 11-0 on aggregate.
Insane.
It is insane, isn't it? They take on Newcastle, Sophie, whose form is a little bit hard to put your finger on. It was a 2-2 draw in the last minute against Bournemouth last week, which is okay, but they don't look like they're going to be top 4 this season, do they?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
If they are, they need to win this game. But I'm going to go Arsenal. I don't think it'll be 5 or 6-0 because Newcastle are not a terrible team, but I will still go Arsenal 2-0.
I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal. I think it could be another fairly convincing one. I can't see them putting more than 3 past Newcastle because, as I say, Newcastle aren't that bad. But Arsenal at the moment, they are just firing on all cylinders. So I can't not back them. 3-0.
3-0, yeah. What about the title race right now, Sophie? Because last week you didn't like Arsenal's chances, but Man City are the team who've wobbled the most recently.
They have, but I feel like Man City kind of do that at times, and then they still win it anyway.
They give you a false sense of security.
Yeah. Arsenal, I was wrong to rule you out, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, it really does look very, very close. I've said for a couple of weeks that I'm starting to shift towards Liverpool. I think my heart was Liverpool, my head is Man City, maybe my legs and my arms are Arsenal.
Just your peripherals.
On to the next game, Sophie. Let's go to Molineux, where Wolverhampton Wanderers host Sheffield United. Sheffield United, we need to address this. Last week I said I'm going to back you, and I said do not let me down, and you lost 5-0.
Yeah, you had a man sent off within a few minutes.
I said to Sophie, as soon as I saw Mason Holgate get sent off after 12 minutes, they are finished.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the challenge was terrible. We said he could have broken Matoma's leg.
Yeah.
But what on earth, Sophie? I mean, Sheffield United are bouncing between a decent result and getting absolutely smashed. There's no in between, is there?
Yeah, I think even saying that they looked like a Sunday League team would be a compliment, because it just looked way too easy to break them down.
Honestly, it was really, really bad. And I just don't know with Sheffield United. I feel like if I go for Wolves, Sheffield United will surprise us all and get something.
No.
But I'm not going to go for Sheffield United. Let's talk about Wolves, Sophie. Wolves went away to Tottenham and they've completed the double over Spurs. Wolves have been so good this season.
Yeah, I didn't see that result happening, to be fair. So fair play to them.
You did say 2-2, so you weren't far off.
I thought it'd be a draw. Yeah, I didn't think a win.
Yeah, Wolves, I'm going for you. I was tempted to go really heavy, but I don't know. Maybe Sheffield United come here and just try and lose not terribly this time. I think Sheffield United will probably be quite better without Mason Holgate, if I'm being honest. 2-0 Wolves.
I'm going to go 3-0 Wolves. Sheffield United's goal difference at the moment is just taking beating after beating after beating. When Wilder came in, though, we did say, oh, he's going to tighten up a little bit. And it did look like that for like 1-2 games. And then I don't know what's going on at the moment. I know you can say sometimes the quality doesn't quite match up. But no offence to Luton, look at what Luton are doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Wolves 3-0. Wolves just look good. Sheffield United don't. That's all I've got to say.
Could Sheffield United possibly get minus 100 goal difference this season?
Well, they're on track for it.
It would be horrendous, but it's not impossible. One Premier League game left to go, and then the Carabao Cup final. Let's start by going to the London Stadium, where it is West Ham versus Brentford, Sophie. Lots of pressure on West Ham now, Sophie. Obviously, the defeat to Nottingham Forest has piled more misery on David Moyes. I don't have a massive opinion on whether he should stay or go. As I've said previously, I have defended him, but these recent results are definitely not good enough. And I feel like this one is big, otherwise, you know, more people jump on the David Moyes out brigade and it could just tip it over the edge. They take on Brentford, Sophie, who have had a very difficult week. They've played Liverpool and Man City, but they come into this one, in my opinion, as favourites, or at least with a strong chance of getting something.
Yeah.
I'd be licking my lips if I was a Brentford fan. I think West Ham are a solid team. They could still win the Europa League or something this season, but I don't know what's going on in the Premier League right now. I'm going to go Brentford here, 2-1.
Okay, I'm actually going to say 0-0, which obviously would suit West Ham more. I will say now I actually think David Moyes is the next manager to go. I think the odds have got to be pretty good on that. I do see why you're backing Brentford, and if anything, I'd lean more towards them, say maybe a Brentford 1-0. But I actually think it could be a stalemate, so 0-0.
I was tempted to go for a draw, but then I saw a stat where Brentford haven't drawn in about 17 games.
Yeah, but there's always that one anomaly.
I think you could be right. So then, Sophie, that leaves us with the Carabao Cup final, and it does feature two Premier League teams, of course, Chelsea and Liverpool. I'm looking forward to this one, Sophie. Really am looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
They've obviously played twice in the Premier League this season. On the opening day, it was a 1-1 draw at Chelsea. In the more recent game, Liverpool did smash them at Anfield. Liverpool come into this as strong favourites to me, but there is this feeling with Chelsea that they can play better against the better teams.
Yeah, and I think as well in a cup final, it's very different to a league game. So you can say, oh yeah, Liverpool are the favourites, but in a cup game I wouldn't say that's the case really.
Yeah, this is interesting. Chelsea, as I say, great result at Man City last week. I didn't see that coming. I don't know. I think they could get something, or at least take it all the way to the end. And I do like Pochettino, but is it a bit cliche that he's a little bit of a a little bit of a bottle job, a little bit of a nearly manager?
Yeah.
I don't mean that in any disrespect, but he seems to get quite far and then just fall at the final hurdle. Yeah. Whereas Liverpool, Sophie, the narrative is being written. Jurgen Klopp in his final season. Can he win these competitions? And I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say it's close. Chelsea 1. Liverpool 2.
Yeah, I can see there being just like one goal separating the two. I think it could be quite a cagey one because obviously it's a cup game. There's a lot of pressure on this one. I think a team's going to win it in the 90 as well, and I'm also leaning towards Liverpool. I'm going to say 1-0, so a very low scoring, cagey game for me, but Liverpool get it over the line and win.
There you go. As I said, guys, double points for that one, whether you get the scoreline or the result bang on. We'll do double points to spice things up. And that is our predictions for the Carabao Cup final, and also wraps up the Premier League predictions video. Do make sure to share your predictions down in the comments, guys, for those 9 Premier League games and the Carabao Cup final. Once again, if you have enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like. It's free to do, and we're going for 2,000, and it's also free to subscribe. So what have they got to do?
Hit that subscribe button.
There you go. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.